Hey folks, welcome to another smartphone comparison video brought to you by GPSmaestro.com. Today we're going to be comparing the LG Spectrum to the Samsung Galaxy Nexus. Alright, so let's jump right on in here and we'll see what makes each of these phones tick. Let's start with the processors. Both of these phones have a lot of processing power, alright? Both of them have dual-core processors. The LG Spectrum has a 1.5 GHz Qualcomm Snapdragon S3, while the Galaxy Nexus has a 1.2 GHz TI OMAP processor. Both phones have Verizon's 4G LTE speed, so lots of connectivity speed if you live in one of the LTE coverage areas, and as they keep growing, even if you live in a mid-sized city, pretty soon you'll have LTE coverage too. As far as memory goes, both of them have a decent amount. The LG is a little bit lighter. It has only 4 GB of internal memory, but it does come with a 16 GB micro SD card, and you can put 32 GB maximum inside it. So, and a 32 GB micro SD card will cost only about 30 bucks. So, it's really not a lot of extra money to expand the capacity. The Samsung Galaxy Nexus has 32 GB of internal memory, so it's a little bit faster in terms of how fast it can access the memory. However, it's not expandable. There's no micro SD card slot at all. So 32 GB is what you get, and that's it with that one. As far as RAM goes, both of them have a full gig, so plenty of power there as well. And as far as graphics processors go, this is something not often talked about, but this comes into play when playing things like movies, and especially when playing games on your phone. And I know the two processors here probably don't mean much, the Adreno 220 and the PowerVR SGX 540. Basically, the way to read that is the Adreno 220 is a little bit higher end processor. It's a little bit newer and a little bit faster. So, from a graphics standpoint, the LG Spectrum is probably going to be a little bit closer to what the iPhone 4S can put out, whereas the Samsung Galaxy Nexus is going to be a little bit behind. You can kind of see a difference if you're playing some of the higher end games on your phone, but other than that, you're not going to really notice a difference. Alright, so that all being said, both phones are very, very fast. Alright, that's basically the way to read all that information. Now let's talk about the operating system. The LG Spectrum, right now it only ships with Android 2.3.5, which is the Gingerbread operating system, though an update is expected sometime in the second quarter of 2012 to bring it up to Android 4.0 Ice Cream Sandwich. If you want all that ice cream sandwich goodness right away, then make sure you get yourself a Galaxy Nexus. It has the stock Android experience and no updated overlaid interfaces or any of that. You get pure Android just the way Google intended. So that's really the advantage with the Galaxy Nexus, especially if you like the way they've designed it. Alright, next. We already talked about that one, so I got a duplicate slide there. I apologize. As far as display goes, both of these have very big screens. The LG Spectrum has a 4.5-inch screen. The Galaxy Nexus, a 4.65-inch screen. They're huge, huge screens. Excellent for watching movies and GPS navigation. Can get a little bit difficult if you got a lot of swiping or something to do on the phone, but lots of space and lots of room. Both also have HD displays. Alright, you'll notice the pixel density on the LG Spectrum is a little bit higher at 326 pixels versus the 315, but both of these are very high, very pretty screens. Alright, the display on the LG Spectrum is made with Corning Gorilla Glass, so it's considered a little bit higher end than the glass on the Galaxy Nexus. However, the screen on that one is Super AMOLED, whereas the display on the Spectrum is LCD. And one kind of interesting thing about the Galaxy Nexus is it's slightly curved. It has a contour display. It's supposed to fit nicer to your ear when you're talking on it. It's kind of an interesting concept. Most people seem to like it, though once in a while people think it's a little bit weird. So I'd recommend playing around with them both to make sure you like that. But that's just how the displays goes, and they're both very nice, very pretty displays. So it's hard to go wrong with either one from that standpoint. As far as battery goes, again, I've just kind of got some somewhat meaningless number put up here. The batteries are essentially the same size. They're very, very close. And to be perfectly honest, neither of them are sufficient to really power these for more than a day. So both batteries, they're going to be kind of crappy. You're not going to get very good battery life out of either of them. So that's just kind of one of the downfalls right now of a lot of the LTE phones. They just don't have a lot of battery life, and especially when you factor in their big screens, their big processors, their big graphics and graphics engines, and they just suck up juice like crazy. So I would recommend making sure you keep a charger with you whenever you're going someplace. Alright, weight, they're pretty close, 4.99 ounces, so essentially 5 ounces to 5.1 ounces for the Nexus. As far as camera goes, the camera on the LG Spectrum, 8 megapixels in the back with an LED flash, and a 1.3 megapixel front-facing camera, and 1080p video recording. The Galaxy Nexus has a 5 megapixel rear camera, and a front-facing camera, and 1080p video recording. However, right now I would say the Galaxy Nexus camera is going to be a little bit better performing, even though it has less megapixels, thanks to some enhancements in the ice cream operating system, or ice cream sandwich operating system itself. So they made some improvements with shutter lag and such things so that the cameras are better. So when the LG Spectrum gets its update, then its camera will probably, again, pull back ahead. So I know that's a little bit confusing, but either way, they both have acceptable cameras. Let's talk about sensors here. As far as all these go, you're going to see they pretty much have a little bit, and you can't read the very bottom one on the left-hand side there. It's a light sensor. But there's really, both have gyroscopes, so that's something that we like to see. It helps them for when you turn the screen and for playing games. It's better than just an accelerometer only, which some phones do have. But really the game changer here is the Galaxy Nexus has the NFC chip. That's the near field communications, which there isn't a lot of support for it yet. And it's still being said it's kind of coming in the future, but near field communications is one of those things you can touch two phones together and they can exchange pictures and information, and you can also use it to, say, do a mobile payments via Google Wallet, or, well, some of the other so-called solutions that are supposed to be coming out. But that's kind of one of the big advantages right now with the Galaxy Nexus. It's one of the few NFC-enabled phones at the moment. Also, you'll see towards the bottom that the Galaxy Nexus also has a barometer, which is kind of an interesting thing to include. And you might be thinking, doesn't that have something to do with weather? Well, yeah, it's something that you use for weather, but in this case, it's simply to help the GPS antenna get a fix faster, because the barometer can help it get a better idea what altitude it's at. So it's really not, they said it's really not designed to help with weather, and some people have speculated about what it could be used for, but ultimately at this point, it's just being used to help you get a fix faster with the GPS. So that's all the barometer right now. So it's not quite as cool as it sounded. As far as price goes, the LG Spectrum is a $200 phone with a 2-year contract from Verizon, whereas the Galaxy Nexus is a $300 phone with a 2-year contract. And one other thing in terms of look and feel, both of them are actually a little plasticky feeling. They don't quite, like I said, they're both pretty lightweight for their size. They're not made with a lot of metal like some of the Motorola phones are. So that's probably one other thing to keep in mind. As far as which phone to get, it's really up to you. If you just care about the price, the LG Spectrum is probably going to be a better choice. But the the LG's user interface isn't quite as nice as the pure Android experience you get with the Samsung Galaxy Nexus, though it's pretty easy to change the home screen experience just by putting in a different home screen app like ADW Launcher or something similar. So that's one easy thing, and it's free or really cheap to do. So not a super big deal if you don't mind spending an extra couple minutes configuring your phone to get it the way you like it. So there you have it. That's kind of a quick and dirty comparison of the two phones. If you have any comments, I'd love to hear them. You can post in the comments at gpsmaestro.com or right below this video wherever you're watching it. So I want to thank you guys for watching today, and we'll see you next time.